Okay. Um, I think everything's on. Uh, let me check to make sure everything's good. I just got a notification about the mobile live dashboard for Twitch. You know what? I'll check it out. Been streaming for 50 seconds. That's awesome. Um, we got 3 unique viewers last stream. I'm so proud of myself. Um, okay. But I don't really need to actually do anything around about that. So, right, what I was doing. I guess I don't need to check because it already told me. But what about YouTube? Are we live on YouTube? Um, slash does it say I'm live? It does say I'm live. And yeah, it's playing my stream audio. As you can probably tell, I don't have any audio in my ears, so I can't actually hear my desktop audio, but I don't really care. But I noticed you guys can. Okay. So, um, I believe we do not have anyone in chat right now. I don't see any chat messages. But I guess for the record, what we will be talking about today is it's in the title. It's how I think about AI. Um, I've been thinking about this for a while, and uh, I want to make it into a video, but I was thinking, oh, if I have a scheduled stream anyways, why don't I just try and record some of it on stream? If that doesn't work out, I don't care. The point is, I have a scheduled stream, so I gotta stream something, and I also want to make this into a video, so I might as well record on stream. We'll see how that goes. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't think I ever will. Okay. So, I have a list of topics on my phone, but we don't seem to actually have any viewers, which is, I guess, the usual. And of course, YouTube Studio says nothing about me being live because live streaming is a third-class citizen on YouTube. Classic YouTube. Um, all right. So, um, what should our intro be like? Hmm. I'm thinking like usually I write a script for videos. But I do want to get in practice with um I want to get like used to just yapping, just like getting my thoughts out without a script. Um, because like using a script is perfectly fine, but uh, I don't know. Uh, I'd like to, I'd like to be around the same level of getting my thoughts out with speaking into a camera as I am with writing, because I'm really good at getting my thoughts out while writing, by writing. Um, but I haven't, I mean, I'm better than I used to be at, definitely, but I haven't like gotten out I haven't gotten to where I want to be with getting my thoughts out by speaking into a camera. Um, but hopefully I can practice that today. Um, Holy cow, I have, oh, I have unlimited bits in my own chat. Okay. I'm ADHD. I get distracted by shiny things. Um, I might want to add more channel points rewards at some point. That might be fun. I like using them on other streamers' chats. All right. Uh, so I want to do a little something. So for the actual video, I don't want to have this um blue border around the screen. So what is this? Ah, okay. So I'm gonna tweak the effects. So the main reason why I have this mask, other than I kind of like this style, is the if you look at like the corners of the camera, that's for when I show my screen and have my face cam on like over the screen that the face cam has corners. I use the same element, same camera element for this scene as the like screen share scene. So I don't have to like do magic. Um, but I can just that. There we go. So now it is just the screen. There is the green screen effect over here. I think I'm just gonna leave that in. All right. So I think I'm probably going to. Oh my, Jesus fell over. Oh, I have little pocket Jesuses on my PC up here. I got a couple decorations up here. Like I also have this wooden elephant. This guy's so cute. I love elephants, by the way. I don't think we have any viewers right now, but I just wanna yap, okay? I just wanna yap. So put that guy back. All right. So I have a list of like so I have a list of general topics that I want to cover, and I'm not intending to do this in entirely in one stream. I might get to everything. I don't know yet. There's also probably going to be some screen sharing that I need to do for some specific stuff. But yeah. So I have these in no particular order, so I'm going to figure out the ordering um as I go. Uh Also I'm going to message friend. Okay. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is so the general topic is about AI. It's in the title. I talked about it earlier. Um, I've realized that uh, I'm probably going to put this part in the video, so I'm going to make sure I get a good take. So that's probably going to take a couple tries. So after interacting with AI and seeing how other people interact with AI, I've realized that AI is something that you can talk to in human language that is not a human. Uh, so one of I'm gonna try to think through this. So one of the effects that has is like, gosh, as I was saying, I'm not good at this. I'm trying to figure this out. Um, I've realized that uh, AI is something that you can talk to in human language, but is not a human. And this is something that we as a species have not had before. So we have zero precedent for good ways to think about this. Hello, chai latte quinoa. I I'm recording for a video, so I'm trying to get a good take, but I'm also I haven't really done this kind of recording for a video on stream before, so I suck at it. Um, but I hope it's entertaining. Um, yeah. So, right, what I was saying, um, something we can talk to in our natural language that is not one of us. Um, so we need what I've decided, at least for myself, but I do think that this is something that's important for like us as a society. We need to develop a new concept for something that we can talk to that isn't one of us. Um, because, for example, there are like AIs aren't people. And so having I don't like the idea of having a relationship with an AI that is like the kind of relationship you would have with a person, whether that's just friendship, whether it's romantic, whatever. I don't like the idea of having a a human interpersonal type relationship with an AI. Because uh, I don't know if that caught up on I don't know if that caught up on my microphone, but someone just yelled in my house. Um, okay. All right. Oh, do I think that AI is an aggregate of millions of minds? Hmm. Good question. So there is one piece of that, which is like, uh, sorry, I'm hearing stuff happening in the background and it's distracting me, um, and like making me nervous. So, AI is trained on data, writing, transcripts, whatever, text from millions of people, billions, I guess, if we have multiple, uh, multiple billion people on the internet, or who have written books in the past who are now dead. Yes, that's going to be billions. Um, so AI as an aggregate of millions of minds. Um, yeah, I think there there's a good argument to be made for that. Um, Now, obviously, AI doesn't work the same as a society does. Like, if hypothetically you gave a prompt to a society which the society had to all work together to answer, it would not at all result in the same output as an LLM. But that thing of like LLMs are trained on the output of a society. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's a good point. So, um, right. So we have this new kind of thing. They won't work together. Yeah. We have this new kind of thing that um that is not one of us, but kind of, yeah, talks to us like one of us, like we would each other. Obviously like AIs have like a kind of distinctive way of talking, but like each one is like a little different, but it's generally just like good spelling, certain like good grammar, but certain like preference toward certain patterns, um, and some sort of fascination with M dashes. Don't know what that's about, but yeah. Um, and like the it's not just this, but also that like sentence pattern. Um, but like we have to in our minds hold AI as something separate to humans. Um, and we need to actively recognize that it's different and not confuse the two. Uh, and you know, the the whole AI psychosis thing, the whole like my boyfriend is AI, uh the whole like people getting their minds twisted by this thing, this inanimate like objects that create data that is then fed to them in the same way a writer could. I don't know if that makes sense, but like they then like it activates the same part of your brain that reading someone else's writing would. And so you need to separate reading a human's writing from an AI's writing if you know like if you know something was written by a human, you need to actively recognize that. And if you know something is written by AI, you need to actively recognize that. If you don't know, you don't know. But you can't be thinking the same way when reading AI stuff than as human stuff. Uh, because the AI isn't a human. But how do you recognize it? What do you mean? Like recognize the AI writing versus human writing? Yeah, so mostly you just do have to rely on it being stated, and there's a whole thing with trust and how AI is accelerating the erosion of trust. But there are still absolutely people and institutions that you can trust. Um, there are still people and institutions and organizations that have continued to uphold their reputation of being trustable. Um, so trust is not gone. Post AI, post whatever dictatorial regime your country is going through, trust remains. And I don't, and trust is not going anywhere until humans are gone, if that ever happens. Humans, something that gives me hope is that I know that humans will continue to be able to trust each other for as long as humans exist. Um, and that gives me a lot of hope. Um, so yeah, it's definitely some AI writing is definitely way easier to recognize than other AI writing. Stock ChatGPT is it just the writing smells like stock ChatGPT. I'll that's how I'm gonna put it. Um, but you can definitely prompt or train an AI to talk like to be discreet about it, be discreet uh with its words. Yeah, words. Um, you can definitely train or prompt an AI to be discreet with its phrasing and make it seem like it was written by a human. Um, so you should already know this, but you can't trust anything you read. Like not anything, but you can't trust the things you read on the internet. Some people and organizations and institutions you can trust, and it's up to you um, to find out and keep a ledger of who is trustable in your own head, or you can write it down if you want. Um, but uh, yeah, you can't just blindly trust the things you read or hear on the internet. And that has not at all changed since AI. Um, so you just have to continue being skeptical. If you weren't already being skeptical, you should have been skeptical the since the first time you listened to someone who you didn't trust. Um, Grant trusts the responsive AI 100%. Yeah, that reminds me of another thing. Like AIs are like insanely good at being confidently incorrect. They will, stand up on their soapbox, talk in phrasing that is just makes you instinctively want to trust it, and then say the wrong information. It just like it does that. I don't think that will ever cease to happen. I think as long as we continue with this architecture of AI, imagining book reference, imagining any kind of reference, um, as long as we stick with this architecture of AI, um, like it has no concept of truth. There is no like in the high dimensional vector space of the model weights, which is a lot of buzzwords that actually do sort of mean something if you actually care. Their truth has no representation like incarnation. Truth is not there. Okay, it is just weights that point at statistical language, just the training data, pretty much. What words or tokens come after the ones that have been put in? Um, there is no representation of truth in an AI. Uh, so yeah, like you can't trust the things your AI boyfriend tells you. I'm sorry. Um, so, uh, let's see. Let's move on to the next topic. How about the training data? Is there truth when it is pointing to it? So, yes, models are absolutely capable of telling the truth. But uh, but I mean, I like to I want to believe that most of the information on the internet is true. I want to believe that. That is a very attractive idea. However, yeah, mixing all sort of connections you mean. So yeah, I want to say that, like, to extend that, I want to say, I'm definitely not sure about this, but I want to say that most of the um most of the data that comes out of these models is also true. I want to say that most of it is true, but I don't have any statistics, I don't have any data to show you. But I really hope that at least the majority of the words coming out of these models is true. I hope that is the case. I really hope it's the case. um yeah, so um but yeah, there is no system in the AI that recognizes whether the model is telling the truth or telling a lie, because there is absolutely no representation of truth. Um, so like that means they're still useful, but relying on them is not the way to go. So the tokens is a chain of vectors based on probabilities. Uh, all right. So I'm probably gonna have to explain how like LLMs work. So I'm gonna try my best to put this really simply. At its core, it's glorified autocomplete. Um, if you've ever done that thing on your phone where like you type in a word in your keyboard and then press the same like suggestion slot over and over and over again, AI is that, except pump way more data into it, do more magic science, more like nerd crap. Um, it's just statistically predicting the next token, and a token is almost a word. It's like I'm gonna need a visual for this, so uh, we're going to switch to this. Like a tag. I'll show you. I'll show you. All right. So we are going to take a look at the OpenAI tokenizer. So this is a fun little website. I did not mean to open that. That turns whatever you put into it into tokens. So if I just write a little something, if you look at what that outputs, you can see it is a word. Like each one of these is a word. But hold on. It's not that simple. Because then if we put some special characters in here, this is one token. But I'm gonna need to get an example from this because I don't know the whole thing off the top of my head. So many words map to one token, but some don't. Indivisible. This does not grammatically make sense, but if you look at this, they group these tokens then. So step one of the process is you send a message to your favorite LLM. It divides your words up into these. So like these numbers are split up in like seemingly randomly. There is a little bit of rhyme to this madness. But yeah, it also splits up emojis into like so emojis are like in the computer, emojis are represented by like multiple blocks of data to like specify which exact emoji you're referring to, because emojis all like have variants like skin tones. And so you need a lot of you need a lot of data to address a particular emoji. And so AIs, when they output an emoji, will construct it out of multiple tokens, which I think is really fun. So it's easy to say that a token is a word because a lot of the time it is, but not always. For longer words like indivisible, the indivisible is 2 tokens. And there's also a difference between like many with a capital M and no space at the beginning is different than a many with a space between it, a space before it, and a lowercase m. Like that is a different token. Anyways, so after it has split this up, it represents the words with numbers. And this actually represents the text. So you could use this to work backwards, um, and get this exact text. Like, this text is contained in these numbers. It is the same data represented differently. Um, so, this goes into the model. And the model is some really complicated statistics and math. But pretty much, you put this in. It does a very large amount of matrix multiplication. Matrix is... I'm not talking about the movie Matrix. I'm talking about these. Does a whole bunch of matrix multiplication. So it takes those tokens, does a whole bunch of multiplication with the... does a whole bunch of multiplication with the model weights, which is like the actual model. It multiplies, to put it very simply, it multiplies your prompt with like some fun stuff with the model. That's a very simplified and kind of incorrect way to put it. But and that gives you the first word. Or token. That gives you the first token. So then it adds that first token to your prompt and then puts it back in. And then does the fancy math matrix multiplication that I'm not gonna explain, because I don't even understand it that well. The weights are from the training. You take the training data and you do magic, and then you get the weights, and that is the model. So yeah, yeah, so once you multiply your prompt with the model, you get your first token. You add that to the program that's running the AI, adds that to your prompt, and then puts that back in, and does that for each, does that on repeat until it gives the end token. So there is a particular token. I don't know how to find out which token it is. I could probably ask whatever AI I want to, because it's different for every model. But you know, there's a particular end token that tells the system to stop and wait for the next question. So when it finishes the last sentence, it hits the end token. Like the high dimensional vector literally points at the end token, and then we're done. So that's a very rough, kind of incorrect explanation, but it's better than not knowing at all. And notice that nowhere in that explanation did I mention true versus false information. That's because there is no there's no distinction. Yeah, so for training, you get... training has multiple steps. You get a whole bunch of text. Like, it is... You have no idea. It is so much text. It is, like, more text than you think. Just so much. Just, look. It's a lot of text. So then you do a lot of pattern, like pattern recognition. You notice patterns in this text. So you notice things like output our vectors. Output. So question is, output our vectors, then you matrix multiply them to know the next token. The weights. So weights are vectors. Because, oh goodness. So one way to represent it is with matrices. Another way to represent it is vectors. So you could say that multiplying the prompt with the weights, or multiplying the prompt with the model, make it point in a certain direction in a high dimensional space, and that direction is pointing in is the token that it outputs. I'm not doing a good job at explaining this. Like, I have no visuals. I did not prepare any visuals. I'm gonna see if I can find visuals for the actual video, or if I just need to re-explain this whole segment. But I did not provide any visuals. Alright, so we're gonna go back here, and then I should probably have a hotkey for this, but too bad. So, that is a very rough explanation of models. So, yeah, training. You find patterns in the data. So, like, you notice in English, you put a period on the end of sentences. You capitalize the first letter. Just like basic stuff like that, and it gets way more complicated. Every type of pattern recognition, pattern you can find in language, the goal is, in training, to find that pattern. And this turns into a like the base model weights that aren't actually very useful, because like it'll give you a coherent output, but it's not what the users will want. So then you go into RL, which I forgot what it stands for. AIRL. What is RL? Reinforcement learning. So once you have your base model, so you take all of your training data and you do the magic. You then have a base model that isn't actually that useful. Because it's not actually what the customers want. It's not fun to talk to. It's literally just the internet distilled into like the internet, but you can ask it questions, which is literally just the internet. But anyways, so then reinforcement learning. Basically, you have it generate the kind of conversations and the behavior you want it to have in those conversations. And then you put that back, you then like multiply that with the existing weights or vectors. But like highly, like very strongly prioritize your reinforcements. So the behaviors for your specific reinforcements are way more likely to show up in the final behavior of the model. So you train it for a specific purpose or field once it has the base set. Yes, but you also just you do RL for all models. Because the base set is the base set is not fun to talk to, not that good at doing things, has a whole lot of information, but that's also a bad thing because it can tell you how to make weapons. So, RL is done on all models, even general purpose models. And I mean, especially general purpose models. If I'm not wrong, general purpose models get more RL than specific models for specific tasks. Because they're gonna see a much wider range of usage that they need way more RL. But yeah, you very much prioritize the RL training over the basic training data, which is just all of the text you can possibly get your hands on. And so the model's way more likely to follow the behavior on RL rather than just behavior in the training data. You pointed a good philosophical point, saying that there is at any point no concept of truth. Yes, that is something that I want everybody to understand when they use AI. Is it's not that the AI hasn't learned the difference between true and false. It's not that the AI is intentionally misleading you. It is at every point in the existence of at every step through the process, truth is nowhere to be found. The concept of truth just is nowhere. So obviously in RL, you want to prioritize the behavior of telling the truth rather than being confidently incorrect. But that looks like telling the truth to this math, this unconscious, not human math. Behavior of telling the truth is identical to being confidently incorrect. That behavior is identical. So yeah, truth is nowhere to be found. All right. After RL, you do your final touches. A lot of providers add a system prompt, which is basically just a message that goes above the user prompt. It's like, hey, you're this kind of model, you do this kind of things, you are able to do this kind of things, you should do this kind of thing, you shouldn't tell people how to make bioweapons, that kind of thing. And that goes before the prompt, and in RL, system prompts are prioritized, so if the system prompt says, don't make bioweapons, and the user says, make bioweapons, in RL, the model is trained to not make bioweapons. So, yeah, it's like, models will prioritize the system prompt. And then you get your AI. So that's like how AI works. Now I want to get into what it does to people. So, hype. Hype is nothing new. AI was the AI boom was absolutely not the first time we have seen hype. If I remember correctly, the first recorded instance of like hype resulting in a economic bubble was with tulips. Let me look up that I'm gonna we're gonna look this up. So I still have these tabs open. I can just close these. Can I just search up tulip bubble? Tulip, is this it? Tulip was a period of the 17th century. Yes, okay. And here I am reading the AI summary. But I will do the right thing and look at and look at Wikipedia. No, I'm gonna look at this Investopedia as well because that looks more trustable. Okay. So, tulipmania was a period during the Dutch Golden Age when contract prices for some bulbs of the recently introduced fashionable tulip reached extraordinarily high levels. The major acceleration started in 1634 and then dramatically collapsed in February 1637. References. It is generally considered to have been the first recorded speculative bubble or asset bubble in history. In many ways, the tulip mania was more of a then unknown socio-economic phenomena than a significant economic crisis. It had no critical influence on the prosperity of the Dutch Republic, which was one of the world's leading economic and financial powers of the 17th century, with the highest per capita income in the world from about 1600 to 1720. The term tulipmania is now often used metaphorically to refer to any large economic bubble when asset prices deviate from intrinsic values. Where have we heard that before? I'm getting a really, really strong sense of deja vu when reading this. I think I've heard of this before. Like this rings a bell, you know what I mean? But we're gonna read the second source, and we get a pop-up. Love the modern internet. It's Tulipmania about the Dutch Dutch tulip bulb market bubble. Yes, nice bubble. I wonder if this was AI generated. I'm sorry. I simply can't take the. Oh my goodness. How ironic. How doesn't this just fit perfectly with the subject of this video? It doesn't get better than this. It's simply, we have peaked. Awesome. All right. Key takeaway. I'm just going to read the key takeaways because I don't want to spend too much on a past bubble, but we gotta get ourselves ready to talk about economic bubbles. I guess we're already talking about economic bubbles. All right, tulipmania, which took place in the Netherlands during the 1600s, is widely considered the first recorded financial bubble, where speculation led to tulip bulbs being priced at levels comparable to luxury goods. At its peak, the value of rare tulip bulbs soared to the cost of a Grand Canal side mansion in Amsterdam. Okay? Just think about that. It is the, not seed, but starter for a plant. A plant. Okay? that costs more than a mansion. That, not because it was a significant scientific endeavor to create. Now, for the rare strains, I guess there is some, selective breeding science, whatever, in making it, but not like significant research cost. No, no, no. More than diamonds, more than gold. Like tulip bulbs are like this big. That much gold cannot buy you a Grand Canal sized mansion in Amsterdam. A mansion in Amsterdam costs more than this much gold. I didn't fact check that, but I'm certain that that is true. You know what? Let's figure it out. So this much, I want to say this is 20 grams of gold. Let's see if I was sorry, kilograms? Yes. Hey, snail. Yes. I said grams. In my head, I guess I meant kilograms because that is very close to the same volume as a tulip bulb. By the way, snail, we're talking about the Tulip Mania. First, generally considered to have been the first recorded speculative bubble, like for an economy. So not like a soap bubble that you're speculating about, but like, economic speculative bubble. So first recorded speculative bubble. We're talking about how at its peak, the value of a rare tulip bulbs soared to the cost of a Grand Canal side mansion in Amsterdam. And I'm saying how like that much gold, like for a tulip bulb about this big, that much gold won't even come close to buying you a mansion in Amsterdam. So 20 kilograms of gold is worth $3 million. So that is in today's money. Do we care about calculating how much it would cost at the time, or do we want to move on? But $3 million will not buy you a mansion, or not a mansion in this area. Grand Canal side mansion. You can get a mansion for $3 million. It's not going to be a big mansion. I know. Crimea River. But it won't be on the side of the Grand Canal. All right. So, hype. Look, the unemployed hype bros need something to do. So like, they got a hype. It was crypto a couple of years ago. Now it's AI. On the one hand, I'm happy for them because they're excited. Some of them are. Some of them are terrified because not because it's rational, but because they need something to make them feel emotions. Because I'm hinting at the fact that they're like emotionally inept and like need something grand to make them feel anything. Anyways, uh, yeah. For the ones who are excited about this, I'm happy for them that they're excited. But also, what they're doing is kind of annoying and also a lot of times harmful. Um, so the hype bros gotta hype something. That is nothing new. That is that isn't even something new with the internet. Hype bros existed before the internet. I know, crazy. Um, so what am I thinking? Yeah, they need something to scream from the rooftops. But the hype bros are not even near the most interesting part. And yes, I would absolutely say that to their face. Because they're not interesting. Um what is way more concerning to me is AI psychosis. So just with hype bros, mental illness isn't new either. Um, Delusions, disconnection from reality, uh, thoughts of grandeur, um, fascination, not like standard fascination, but like fascination, um, that kind of thing. That has been a thing as long as humans have been a thing. Uh, but I I hope it's not just that AI psychosis is worrying because it's new. Like, cause if it's just worrying because it's new, then it's not actually worrying, because a new method of skinning cats coming around, unless that causes people to skin cats way more, I don't care. Skinning cats is skinning cats. Um, if the new way of skinning cats is causing people to skin cats way more, sorry, I just I just have to laugh about that. Okay, I couldn't hold in the laughter. All right. If a new way of skinning cats comes around and that causes or that makes people decide to skin cats way more than they already were, that's concerning. And this is a metaphor for AI psychosis. If this new way of developing psychosis is like just the same severity and commonality as the other ways of developing psychosis, it's not concerning. We already have institutions, protocols, medical professionals who know how to deal with psychosis. Obviously, it'd be nice to do it better, but the same severity, but just a different way of skinning the cat doesn't matter to me. But it seems like AI psychosis is a bigger problem than that. Uh, it, it I I definitely want to be wary of the possibility that it is a logical fallacy and a uh, cognitive shortcut to think that AI psychosis is way more severe because it's new and everybody's talking about it. But it does seem like AI psychosis is much more prevalent and severe and common. And so if that is the case, it really needs to be dealt with. And it can't be dealt with by the existing institutions, medical professionals, because their system can't handle that much weight. So honestly, I think it is helpful for everybody to know, like, the right, or not really the right way, but a good way to handle a person experiencing psychosis. Especially AI psychosis, but it's good to know how to handle people with any kind of psychosis. Um, that is not something that I am certified to teach. But I mean, if I was certified, I would explain it, but I'm not a medical professional. But I mean, I require myself to know how to handle someone with experiencing psychosis in the state of an emergency, but I'm not at all certified to cosplay as a medical professional. I reserve this knowledge and practice for emergencies only. But I mean, it's good that I have it because I spend a lot of time around mentally ill people. And I almost certainly have dealt with people experiencing psychosis in the past, and I absolutely will in the future. Maybe even more so because of AI. Yeah. My point with the psychosis thing is learning about how to deal with this kind of situation properly could save someone's life. So I think that's really important, and I think I would recommend it. I'm not certified to teach it, but I definitely recommend that you learn from someone who is educated in this aspect. Next topic. Yeah, like learning CPR or other first aid. I think mental illness is on the same like and we need to stop skinning cats, yes. I think in my opinion, with my own like with my own experience with moderate to severe with my own moderate to severe mental illness, I think mental illness is on the same level as CPR and first aid. Because it's way more common than you might think. Unless you are around a lot of mentally ill people, you would probably know how common it is. But it's a very normal thing. Just as normal as breaking your arm or whatever you need first aid for. All right. So let's talk about energy and water usage. There's a lot of misinformation flying around about AI and the stuff around it. Because it's the big news right now. And people love talking about it. I'm going to oh yes, mental health can also contribute to physical health and vice versa. Absolutely shout it from the mountains. Um, one of the first things you should do when trying to lose weight is take a close look at your mental health. Especially depression, eating disorders, depression, um, anxiety, depression, depression, anxiety, eating disorder. Sorry. Um, yeah, it's like when losing weight, yeah, mental health is one of the first things you should take a look at. Um, all right, I'm gonna mark these off after I talk about them, uh, so I don't go over stuff. So I don't go over stuff again. Okay. Energy use and water use. Um, so this is a loud minority, and loud minority is a concept that I want all of my viewers to know. A loud minority is, I can make extreme examples like Nazis and Germans, KKK and Christians, um, uh, extremified terrorist Islamic beliefs in among general Islamic practice practice sorry, I mean no disrespect to Muslims, but I do mean disrespect to my own native language. Let's see. Loud minority and like vegans, uh, like you know, you have the vegans who are regular, regular, well-adjusted, normal people who are vegan, and then you have insert the vegan that you're thinking about who wants everyone else to be a vegan. Yeah, that this is a loud minority. The weird furries, yes. Uh, I mean, all furries are weird, not in an offensive way, just like in a neutral way, like weird in a neutral way. All furries are weird in a neutral way, is my opinion. But then there are the weird furries, like the weird in a bad way furries. That is a loud minority. Um, some loud minorities are loud because they are like blasphemous. Or no. They're loud because they're really easy to notice. Like they're very sensational. Like the things they're doing are very sensational, very likely to get onto the news, very likely to get Charlie Penguin Zero Moist Critical to talk about them on YouTube.com website. And another kind of loud minority is literally loud minority. People who really want you to know what they're doing. Um, so there's a loud minority. Okay. All right. Where was I? Oh goodness. Okay, there's stuff going on in the background. Sorry. Professional streamer here. Just kidding. Um, I'm gonna talk a little quieter. Uh, all right. So the loud majority I'm talking about with the AI water and energy usage, they're loud because they're wrong. And they might just be loud for me. I'm doing a me. Um, Camera does not reach that far. What if I? No, but if I move farther away from the microphone, I'll be far away from the microphone. I can do this. All right. So, dang it. Professional streamer here, guys. Um, I've heard some people claim that AI water usage, like the way AIs use water, they like use it up, like the water can't return to the environment. Like I kind of extrapolated this in my head, like the data centers are turning water into AI, but it's something like that where it's like they're these people think that AI data centers are using a bunch of water, and that water cannot return to the environment. This conception is false. Um, in fact, a lot of data centers, the way they use water is they evaporate it on the roof of the data center, and it goes into the atmosphere, into the clouds, and just rejoins the water cycle. So the water that goes through an AI data center absolutely can just be safely dumped back into the environment. Now, it might need some data centers might need it to be purified, but that's just like run it through a filter. That's not anything crazy. Um, yeah, it's like a lot of the time the water is literally evaporated in a process called evaporative cooling. Pretty much like when water evaporates off of a surface, the surface gets a lot colder because all of the heat gets taken by the water in order to move away. Um, like that, the heat is literally kinetic energy that allows the water to leave the surface, but the water takes the heat from the surface and cools it down. Um, and the water in data centers is used for cooling, if you didn't know, because like computers get hot when they work, and that heat needs to go somewhere. So a lot of the time, these data centers just evaporate the water off of the roof, and the water rejoins the water cycle. So it's definitely a minority of people um, who think that the water can't return to the environment, but they are wrong. And and since it is true that the water usage of AI is a problem, and people generally know this, it is really easy for the idea that the water cannot return to the environment. It's really easy for that idea to spread because it extends the correct conception that water usage is a problem, and makes it worse. So it doesn't at all contradict the problem. It instead goes along with it and makes it worse. So it's very easy to believe if you don't know what's going on. And so it is an idea capable of spreading, but absolutely not an idea worth spreading. That is a diss on a very particular organization that used to do really good speeches, or used to host very good speeches, and now it has turned from ideas worth spreading to ideas capable of spreading. Anyways, I won't mention it by name. Yeah, so in reality, the AI water usage problem is a problem, but not in the way you might be inclined to think. So the only issue that I know of that it brings up is since AI data centers use a lot of water, they need a lot of water going through, that requires the local water infrastructure, so the pipes, the processing facilities, all of the infrastructure and logistics that are involved with getting the water out of the ground and into the data center. That infrastructure costs money and needs to be upgraded for a local area to support a data center. So if there isn't already a data center in an area, the infrastructure for water isn't going to support having a data center in it, and so more infrastructure needs to be built. Building more infrastructure isn't the problem, though. The problem is building more infrastructure costs money. And the way utility infrastructure has worked since the Industrial Revolution probably is everybody who uses it pays for it equally. So just because you're using less of the infrastructure, you still pay an equal amount of the cost of maintaining it. This isn't a problem because the cost to you for maintaining it is extremely low. Even though it is being balanced out with like businesses that use way more water and electricity and utilities than you do, it's so low that it's not worth the time of day for you to think about. So the problem with AI data centers is they take up so much that the cost to you does make an impact on your water bill, on your utility bill. So that is a problem. I have not heard of any other argument that is backed up by reality, by evidence, that AI water usage is a problem other than this. And that's the thing. There's also something there. Everybody, I hear people complaining about the water usage way more than I hear people complain about the electricity usage. Here's the thing, though. The electricity usage is a way bigger problem. So, along with that, you have to pay for... Everybody pays equally for the electricity infrastructure to be upgraded to support this data center. There's also... you need to generate that electricity somehow. And generating electricity is much more environmentally impactful than pulling water out of the ground. Now, pulling water out of the ground does absolutely have an environmental impact that should not be ignored. However, generating electricity has a much larger environmental impact. So, along with you having to pay for building this infrastructure to supply electricity to a data center, the electricity has to be generated in the first place. Now, there are many ways of generating electricity, and luckily, the trend is for electricity to be like electricity for AI data centers. Like the trendy thing is to generate it with nuclear power, which is very safe and very low environmental impact. However, there's also coal. This makes me really disappointed. Coal in this day and age is an awful way to generate electricity. The only reason why we still do it is because change requires sacrifice. Coal was pretty much the first reliable way of generating a large amount of energy. And it wasn't even electricity to start out. It was steam power and like mechanical energy. But retrofitting a coal plant to be anything else costs money. And these coal companies absolutely do not want to spend this money. And it doesn't just cost money. Change requires sacrifice. That is another thing I need to drill into your guys' heads. Change requires sacrifice. So a lot of coal plants are coming up, being turned on to power AI data centers. This makes me very disappointed. Because what a lot of people don't realize is coal puts way more radioactive material into the atmosphere than nuclear does. Because nuclear traps all of the radioactive material, makes sure none of it gets out. So only in extreme cases do you have radioactive material leaking into the atmosphere, and these extreme cases are few and far between and extremely avoidable. But coal doesn't, like most coal plants don't do anything to capture this radioactive material. And it's not just radioactive material, it's also greenhouse gases, toxic gases. Generally, the stuff in coal should not be in our atmosphere. Like the stuff in coal should stay in coal and should stay in the ground. So yeah, the radioactive material, toxic material, greenhouse gases just get released into the atmosphere when you burn coal. Now, there is this fun new technology called clean coal. It's also one of the dumbest things I've ever laid my eyes upon. So the thing about clean coal is it's the stupidest thing ever. Okay, sorry. Not this. Alright. I'm going to be fair. Clean coal is not a worthwhile investment. The cost it takes to implement clean coal strategies into an existing coal plant, that same cost, you would have far more positive environmental impact on spending that cost on either retrofitting it for a nuclear plant, which would be so much safer, so much better for the environment. that cost would be much better spent on clean energy sources rather than clean coal. Um, but I guess clean coal requires less sacrifice, and like if you convert to clean coal, your company is still a coal company. You don't have to do that transition to a nuclear or other kind of company, which that requires less sacrifice. So it's easier on the executives, it's easier on the company. But let me put it this way. I don't hecking care. Uh I would absolutely bend over backwards to convert my coal facility into a nuclear facility. I would spend my entire life doing that if I had to. Um, like it, the standards that I am expecting of these people, I am expecting of everyone, in, especially myself. Not just including myself, especially myself. These people should be required to care about the environment because the general population cares about the environment, and they are the ones who have the button that like decides what happens to the environment. So like they should listen to what the general population wants. And the general rhetoric has been, I care about the environment. So yeah, the yes, it it requires less sacrifice for a company to convert to clean coal rather than something like nuclear or other clean energy source. But I don't hecking care. I don't care. And I don't think anybody should. I don't think literally anybody should care that it's easier. I think the people who make the decisions shouldn't care, and I think they should do it anyways. I think they should convert to clean energy anyways. Even though it'll be harder for them. It won't necessarily, I mean, it absolutely could end up costing more. It absolutely could. But if they just budget the money for converting to clean coal and then pivot that to a real clean energy and use the same budget, they might have to work more. They might have to do more legal garbage of transitioning their company to a nuclear or whatever company. They might have to do more schmoozing the investors. They'll definitely have to do more work. But I'm going to say it again. I don't hecking care. I would do it for my entire life for one facility. Because that's how much it matters to me. And that's how much it matters to the general population. So, yeah, clean, like, to bring this back to how I think about AI, AI data centers consume a massive amount of energy. Like the numbers, I'm not even gonna pull it up because you cannot fathom the numbers. You cannot understand the numbers. They're too big. Um, like AI data centers just eat up that energy, and it has to be produced somehow. Um, and we really ought to be using clean energy sources. Um, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't even be a debate whether or not we do coal or whether we do um, clean energy, unless in some very weird edge case where it turns out that like coal is actually honestly a better option, and like that's technically possible, but I don't really see a scenario where that happens. I'm definitely going to keep that possibility on the table and in mind, but I don't see it happening. It definitely could, though. I mean, it's definitely possible. So that wraps it up for energy. So I'm going to look at the next thing on my list. Actually, one more thing about that. To reiterate, when talking about the energy and water usage, remember that the energy usage is much bigger of an issue and much bigger of a conversation topic, and you should be concerned way more with the energy usage rather than the water usage. Now, we shouldn't cast the water usage to the street and not think about it at all. It's definitely still worth thinking about. But talk about the please talk about the talk about the energy usage more. Okay, good question. How safe is nuclear? Very. I am going to pull up some numbers for this. Right, I'm still in this scene. So energy production safety statistics. Let's see if we can find some numbers. Let's see. Department of Energy. Can we find anything here? Do I have to read. Dang it. All right. Searchable information on wait, hold on. I saw something. Incidents in computerized accident incident reporting system, injury and illness dashboard. That looks interesting. Error page. All right. So while I look for this, I'm going to talk about the safety of nuclear. So nuclear is one of the safest, if not the safest, energy. Obviously, you've heard about Chernobyl. What was the one in Japan? Not what's the one in Japan? Fukushima. Thank you. Sorry, I've been. It's hot in here. It's hard to think. 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile. Okay, 3 Mile Island shouldn't even be said in the same sentence as Chernobyl and Fukushima. 3 Mile Island was like no. It was very tame. 3 Mile Island was very tame. Like I believe no one died. I don't even think anybody got hurt. Not much collateral damage. 3 Mile Island was not. Dare I say it was barely even a catastrophe. For Fukushima, I don't think anyone died. What did kill people, however, is the misunderstanding of how nuclear affects people's bodies and the lethal dose of radiation. So people right after Fukushima happened, when they needed to evacuate people, they wildly overestimated the so I know that people sacrifice themselves to go and repair the plant of Fukushima, but I think they all survived. I'm gonna have to look this up later. So people wildly overestimated the danger of radiation. Um, they thought it was a system called linear no threshold. That is something I'm not going to get into right now. But there's an entire Kyle Hill video on it. I think it has linear no threshold in the title or description. You can search that up. But it is like, just like search up Kyle Hill linear no threshold. So they wildly overestimated the danger of radiation. And so they evacuated way more people than they needed to. And the sad reality is moving people kills some of them, especially elderly. Um, Infants, not as much, but like uh, necessary rushed relocation can definitely cause infant mortality, which is an insanely sad thing. But yeah, like it was mostly old people, but not entirely old people. But yeah, evacuating people itself killed way more people in Fukushima than the reactor did, than the radiation did, which is pretty unfortunate. Uh, Chernobyl, Chernobyl was a real disaster. Uh, Chernobyl was the result of incompetence on top of stupidity, on top of rushed deadlines, on top of stupidity and incompetence, on top of poor communication, on top of a extremely poorly designed economy, on top of terrible incentives, on top of terrible incentives. Chernobyl, honestly, I don't even want to call Chernobyl a nuclear disaster. Chernobyl was a political, economical disaster. And, like, I guess it was a. Chernobyl didn't happen because nuclear reactors are unsafe. Chernobyl happened because the way USSR did things was unsafe. Chernobyl wasn't a failing of the technology. Chernobyl was a failing of the people. And Russia still claims to this day that the death count is like around 30, when in reality, it's in the hundreds to thousands. It's pretty much impossible to count accurately because the Russian government has huge incentive to stop people from counting and looking into it because they want to uphold the reputation of the USSR and Soviet Union. That's another thing I should have mentioned with coal energy. There is an insane amount of money in making sure that you don't know how dangerous coal is. Coal isn't just bad for the environment. It's hecking dangerous. Coal mining is an incredibly dangerous career. Incredibly dangerous occupation. The like if you compare like the number of people who have died from nuclear disasters to the number of people who died from like coal mine collapses and black lung and explosives. What do you know about nuclear safety though? I've been talking about it this whole time. What? I don't understand the question. Um, like if you compare the safety of the two, it's not even funny. Like, yeah. So, all right. I'm going to continue looking. Yeah, error page. Nice. That's my government. Usage U.S. energy facts. Can we get safety incidents? Ah, uh, technology put into place to make nuclear safe. So the thing about nuclear, it's probably like nuclear engineering really appeals to smart people. Like the smart people are really into nuclear engineering. I know this from experience. Certified smart person, I like nuclear engineering. Um, there's me tooting my own horn. Uh, and the cool thing about smart people is there's a big overlap of smart people and people who care about safety. Like this overlap is almost one to one. Almost. Not quite, almost. So possibly even more than half of the effort that goes into nuclear engineering is safety. Which you absolutely cannot say the same for coal. Like that's hilarious. Like no. So like all of the radioactive material that is collected and produced in the standard operation of a nuclear plant is captured. And yes, we should talk about nuclear waste. Nuclear waste is not what you think it is. So the glowing green goo that you see in Looney Tunes and various cartoons doesn't exist. Like that stuff is not real. Um, it is entirely made up. It's not real. And it is also not stored in barrels. So primary nuclear waste, the fuel rods that are not hot enough to be viable to generate electricity, but still hot enough to be dangerous. They're put in these capsules that are like nearly indestructible. They're like solid concrete and steel and like really well engineered. Do not let any radiation out and will stay intact for well as long as they need to. The they will stay intact for an insanely long time. Um, so like, um, yeah, like secondary nuclear waste, like standard objects that get irradiated, whether it is like they get ionized, because of radiation particles, or they get radioactive material on them and are contaminated, get stored in a similar way, but they're not in the shape of a rod, so don't get stored in the same containers, but they get stored in similar containers. So you have to like way too many things have to go wrong in order for nuclear waste to get out in modern nuclear systems. Now, there is a whole lot of loose nuclear material from nuclear refining out in the wild, especially in third world countries where it is not properly cleaned up. But the vast majority of that is from designing and manufacturing nuclear bombs, not nuclear energy. And nuclear bombs is very different from nuclear energy, and obviously I do not support the production of nuclear bombs. That is not at all necessary for societal benefit. It is actually quite the opposite. Yeah, most of the refined nuclear material that is out in the wild, not properly contained, like accessible to regular people who don't know what it is and who can be hurt by it, got there because it was refined for nuclear weapons. If I'm not wrong, I believe that is correct. But yeah. So there is a whole lot of technology in place to make nuclear safe. They're like, I don't think it is possible for someone who works in a nuclear facility to for like a low down worker in a nuclear facility to get access to any sort of nuclear material. I guess the people who get to handle it could, irradiate themselves or others, but they have a lot of training and a lot of trust, and they're not going to do that. There's also non-nuclear energy, but still radioactive industrial tools. Where do they dispose of all the waste, and does it scale in the future? There are various places that they dispose of the waste. And there isn't enough waste produced for there to be too much of it. Nobody in their right mind disposes of nuclear waste in a place where it is likely to be found. It's buried in the middle of a desert where nobody goes through. That's kind of I believe that's kind of the primary location. Just in the middle of nowhere, where there has been a philosophical debate of how do we signal to people thousands of years in the future that this site contains dangerous stuff. And so a lot of the smart people have gotten together to discuss that, and how do we have this area signal that this is not a place where you should this is not somewhere where you should go digging. We put this stuff here to get this stuff away from us. And we want it to be away from you. Because you are likely our descendants and we care about you. So, often the way it's described is it is, written in as many languages as we can get our hands on. It is, the first sentence is, and this hits really hard. This is not a place of honor. This is not... This place contains material that we need to get away from us. And so it's there's that whole discussion on how do we signal to people in the future that this place is not safe. But that is a conversation that is happening. It's not like we're glossing past that and just saying, oh, well, they'll figure it out. They got it. They're smart. They'll figure it out. We're not doing that. We are actually having this conversation, putting the text in these locations to try and communicate that this is not a place of honor. Um, yeah. So, yeah, the nuclear waste thing isn't really much of a concern. Man, this kind of like yapping about stuff I know about is something I've really wanted to do, um, like on stream or in videos, but I mentioned this thing in a previous video, but it's like I haven't been able to get started, but I'm really happy that I like am actually doing this now. Uh, Place of honor, or this is not a sorry, this is not a place of honor, as in, this is not. This is not like this stuff is interesting, but it is not good. It is not honorable. Like, yeah, this is not a place of honor. Um, yeah, so I just like yapping about stuff. And I've yapped about a lot of stuff related to the AI stuff, but I've been like following the AI path and then branching out to explain something related. Yeah. But I like doing that. I hope you guys like watching it. All right. What are we going to talk about next? Also, thanks for asking questions. I think it's very helpful to have someone asking questions to make sure I explain things properly. Uh, let's see. Let's talk about what the AI companies are doing. Uh, how AI works is really interesting. Yes. I think, yeah, I think Zach would be an awesome commentary YouTuber, but one of the good ones. I'm honored. Uh, I I might like continue doing this. I do enjoy it. So, yeah, like all the stuff I'm yapping about is all stuff I find interesting. I have a lot like when information approaches me, I kind of just soak it up and I retain it. And I am glad that I have that skill. And I found it quite useful. And I love learning. Learning is one of my favorite things to do. Um, it's like that's gonna like if I do have the privilege of putting together a community, learning is gonna be one of the cornerstones. All right, what the AI companies are doing. So there's uh, there's been quite a bit of drama among the various AI companies. If you haven't been following it, which I can totally understand. It's like totally like standard internet drama. You know how it is. But I'll get into it a little bit. So the two like the thing about talking about drama, before we actually start talking about drama, I'm going to talk about talking about drama. I have been thinking about this live stream, what I'm going to say, preparing stuff, doing research. I've done way more research than I usually do, which is not a whole lot, but I've done a lot of research for this stream and just held this in my head. The only notes I have are broad topics that I'm going to talk about. Everything else is just off the dome, which I'm really glad that I'm able to do that. I wasn't sure if I was capable of that, but it seems like I am. I'm going to switch to the camera. I am not a professional streamer. I am not switching scenes when I should be. But we're gonna figure this out. All right. I'm figuring out my windows. All right. So, yeah, talking about drama, a lot has happened in the AI space. A lot of news has happened. It moves very quickly, because of all the various hype. The drama moves quickly. The news moves quickly. There's so much hype. There's so much money in this space being thrown around. Like random stuff. There's so much interest. A lot of people doing random crap. So the space moves very quickly, and I've been following it. And since I started thinking about making this video and doing this live stream, a lot has happened. So I'm going to mention, so that's the thing with talking about drama. So I'm going to mention the two latest ones. The most recent one, both of these are like ongoing, like playing out as we speak right now. But the most latest one to happen is Allbirds Shoe Company transitioning to Newbird AI and their stock shooting up. The really funny thing about this situation is a lot of people talk about how their stock skyrocketed after they announced that they're transitioning to being a GPU rental company for AI. The funny thing people don't mention about their stock charts is, like, so the chart that the news people show is the graph going like this, and then announce, shoots up. The graph they don't show, if you zoom out, it looks like this. And then flat for years. Okay? The company's dead. It is a dead shoe company. The shoe has lost its soul. There's a good pun for you. So, graph goes like this. Crash. Company has crashed. Worth nothing. Flat. Then they announce. Boop. The stock. So, the stock multiplies by several 100%. Or increases by several 100%. But it was up here. And it went over here and went boop. Like, since announcing that. So it's like, the graph they don't show you, they probably don't show it to you because it's so funny. And you just die of laughing. The real reason is probably something like it's more sensational to say their stock jumped by several 100%, and because news has to be sensational. Snail, you heard that absolutely correct. I said shoe company. Actually, not just shoe company, not just a company that manufactures shoes. It is a company that is registered as a beneficial corporation. So the primary incentive is not money and investments. The primary incentive is benefiting society. So they manufacture uh, environmentally friendly shoes. So like made out of uh, feeding birds. They manufacture environmentally friendly shoes out of like recycled materials, which is pretty cool. They were a big thing in like mid 2010s, early to mid 2010s, I think. I think. Um, Not feeding birds. The company was called Allbirds. It is now called New Bird AI. Which of course, putting AI in the name means you get money. You get all the venture capital. You get all the investment. And that uh this event showed us that we very much are still inside of the bubble. We are not yet approaching the end, which was pretty sad because other stuff that I'm going to talk about later, with regards to these companies' behavior or the AI companies' behavior, um, is indicating that the high is starting to come to an end. But yeah, the the whole New Bird AI situation kind of indicates to us that we haven't reached the end yet. Um, so, um, where was I? So yeah, shoe company, economically friendly shoe company, transitioning to AI. The what makes it even more funny is when they transitioned to AI, they filed to remove the legal status of beneficial corporation, which is, I believe, an actual legal classification that makes it so like you're. I think this is the case. I'm gonna need to fact check this after, before I publish the video. Uh, Investors can't sue you for chasing profits if you are a beneficial company or a beneficial B Corp. Um, I believe that is the case. Because in a company where you promise to the investors that you will make the stock price go up, they can legally sue you if, like, because the investors own part of the company. So they get to vote, if that is the structure of your company. So they can sue you if you don't do what they voted for. And every company has a different political situation. Company, like, business politics, not that kind of business politics. The other kind of business politics is a very complicated subject that I am not qualified to talk about. But yeah, like, with a legally recognized B Corp, investors must understand that your primary goal is benefiting humanity, not chasing profits. So they can't sue you for that. But they filed, when switching to an AI company, they must have known that AI doesn't necessarily benefit humanity. So they filed to remove the B Corp, the legal B Corp status. Cinema. The irony is potent. Like, you can feel it. You can taste it. You can taste the irony. Oh, it's so funny. And of course, this filing is public. Um, I don't really think you can do that privately. Of course, you have to notify your investors. Yeah. So, the second big recent drama, Anthropic Claude Mythos. Gosh. I follow tech news, and to a lesser extent world news very closely, because I like talking about this stuff. And I really do want to continue doing streams like this where I talk about stuff I find interesting, stuff you find interesting. Uh, that is definitely something I want to continue doing. I have a stream schedule on my Twitch. I was like over an hour late today, but I have 3 followers on Twitch and 37 subscribers on YouTube. 38. I don't keep the numbers in my head. Um, so, and basically none of my subscribers watch my stream except for some of my friends. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know how it works. Um, Definitely something I'm going to continue doing. But I don't really have much of a responsibility to my viewers to be on time. But I probably will try harder to be on time. All right. So, Anthropic Claude Mythos. I heard about it very soon after its existence became public. So, can I just hear in chat if anybody has heard of Claude Mythos? If anybody's still here, I'm gonna keep talking. So Claude Mythos. When I first heard about the claims that Anthropic made, I did not believe it at all. There's that one thing where, like, you can't trust the things you hear on the internet, that I've talked about earlier. I am always skeptical about the things I hear on the internet. I absolutely recommend that behavior. I don't think anybody's still here. When I first heard about it, I did not believe it. The other reason why I didn't believe it was because AI is AI. Yeah. Because they've used like multiple AI companies, including Anthropic, have used this exact playbook before. So, to be specific, the claims they made about Anthropic Claude Mythos, we'll just call it Mythos, is it is ultimate hacker dude. It can pwn any software. It can hack anyone. It's like that's like an extrapolation that the hype bros absolutely made. Like the hype bros absolutely said that. Anthropic didn't say those exact words, but Anthropic gave this long list of software projects that Mythos allegedly was able to find critical vulnerabilities in and hack. Curse BTW? What do you mean? And so, like, the playbook of, like, launching a model and then oh, is Mythos cursed? Mythos, I'm not surprised. Oh, what? Oh, you cursed me. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. So I would not at all be surprised if Claude Mythos was, like, deeply cursed. Uh, uh, I do not. All right. I do not know what you're referring to. I'm sorry. I'm dense. Uh. Oh, Snail just timed it. Okay. Um. Snail, do you know anything? I am completely in the dark here. Um. Let's see. Okay. So I'm gonna finish up the thought about Cloud Mythos, and then I need to end stream. Um. So yeah. This kind of like release a model and then say, "Oh my goodness, this model is so dangerous. It's capable of doing all this crazy hacker whatnot stuff. It's such a good programmer. It's so good at statistics. It's so good at whatever our whatever whatever industry we want more customers in." That kind of playbook. OpenAI has used it. Anthropic has used it. I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if every AI every AI lab has used that playbook. It's such an obvious marketing uh such an obvious marketing thing to do, and it's also really cringe. Um uh so turns out some of the things they said Claude was able to do were bogus. Like technically some of them were like technically true but not actually important. Um Snail, are you able to handle the situation? I don't know what to do about this. I have no idea what he's talking about. Um I'm like this close to banning this guy. Um but I'm also curious about what they're referring to. If you're so scared of getting banned, why the heck are you talking like that? What is the curse? Snail, we're getting rid of Snail. We're getting rid of this guy. I don't like his vibes. I don't like his vibes. I'm sorry. Like I don't. I do. Okay, to be very clear about why I banned you. I do not like the way you were talking. Um, so like I think this is going to be a limited time ban, and I will allow you to come back at some point. But I have no obligation to let you chat in my stream. Um, yeah, you just gave me weird vibes, dude. Like, no, yeah. All right. Okay, it's Claude Mythos. This playbook, yeah. But a lot of the claims they made about it were actually true. Were actually verified by the developers of the software that were pwned, that were hacked, or not hacked, but exploits were found with them. Um, uh, yeah, these developers came out and said, yeah, actually, Claude Mythos did find these things. Um, so All right, I really need to wrap this up. Um, all right. OpenAI has not publicly announced any sort of public has not publicly announced any like they have not announced that they have a model on par with Mythos. However, I am almost certain that they do. That they do have that they're working on a model that is either on par with Mythos or better. I really don't think that OpenAI is behind Anthropic. There are a lot more things that I want to say about Anthropic. There are more things that I want to say about OpenAI, and I'll probably say them next time I stream. But yeah, I'm gonna have to talk about this more some other time. I will be live again on Monday. At I forgot my schedule. Anyways, Monday, next Monday, I will be live again. I will be I'll either be talking about the same stuff or doing something else. If I'm doing something else, you can still ask questions about this, and I will still answer them. But other than that, I'm going to end stream, and I'm going to raid. Zinchi is live right now. I'm going to raid them. I think this is the right command to raid someone. Let's see if this works. No, it's not. It's slash raid. Okay, I'm stupid. And I spelled it. Pro computer nerd here. Can use computers. Right here, yes. Guy who can use computers. Oh, thank you, Snail. Monday at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. PST. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. Bye.